Before I give you the one thing that separates the people who build extraordinary lives from the people who only dream about them, let me first tell you about a conversation that changed the way I think about showing up. Because what it reveals about consistency will either make you deeply uncomfortable or deeply motivated. And either way, it will stay with you. A journalist once asked a renowned sculptor how he created such magnificent statues. The sculptor's answer was disarmingly simple. He said, "I just remove everything that is not the statue. The statue was always there. My job is just to keep showing up and removing what does not belong."
That is what showing up does to a life. Every day you show up, every session, every attempt, every choice to be present in the work, even when the work is hard and the results are invisible, and every reasonable voice in your head is lobbying for the day off. You are removing something that is not the person you are trying to become. You are chiseling. And the statue that is inside you, the one that was always there, is getting closer to the surface with every session that you refuse to skip. The people who quit are not people who lacked the statue. They are people who stopped chiseling before the statue became visible. They were one showing up away, or 10, or 100, and they will never know which, because they stopped. Do not be that person. Let me show you 3 people who kept chiseling through everything, and what emerged when the excess finally fell away. Welcome to Motivation Daily.
Think about Vincent van Gogh. He sold exactly 1 painting in his lifetime. 1. He produced over 900 paintings and more than 1,100 drawings and sketches across a prolific but largely unrecognized career. And the world, during the years he was alive and working, showed almost no interest in what he was building. He was considered by most who knew him to be a troubled man of limited commercial appeal. He struggled with mental illness. He spent time in psychiatric institutions. He lived in poverty so persistent that his brother Theo funded his living expenses throughout his adult life because the work produced almost nothing in return. And every single day that he was capable of working, he worked. He showed up. Not for recognition that was not coming. Not for sales that were not materializing. Not for the validation of a world that had not yet decided to care. He showed up because the work was the work. Because the act of painting was the reason, independent of its reception. Within decades of his death, his paintings began selling for the highest prices ever paid for a work of art. Today, they are among the most valuable, most reproduced, most beloved in human. Now think about Dwayne Johnson. Before the global franchise, before the most commercially successful actor title, before the cultural phenomenon that his name has become, there was a 23-year-old who had just been cut from the Canadian Football League with a total of $7 in his pocket. He had grown up dreaming of professional football. He had played college ball at Miami. He had chased the dream to the point where the dream had decisively told him it was not going to work out. He went back to wrestling, a path he had begun to explore and abandoned when the football dream was still alive. And there, in the unglamorous, physically punishing, frequently underestimated world of professional wrestling, he showed up. Every performance, every road trip, every town that was not Madison Square Garden, and every crowd that was not selling out arenas yet. He showed up with the same energy, the same commitment, the same standard of performance, whether the audience was 200 or 20,000, because he understood that consistency of showing up was the only thing that built the reputation that eventually produced the career. He is now one of the highest paid entertainers on earth, not because he was given the right opportunity at the right moment, because when the opportunity arrived, it found a man who had been showing up in small rooms for years and had never once dialed it in. And think about Tina Turner. Before the comeback,
before the record-breaking world tours, before the stadium anthems and the cultural resurrection that made her one of the most beloved performers alive, there was a woman who had escaped an abusive marriage at the age of 39 with 36 cents and a mobile credit card, and had to rebuild everything from nothing. She had a name that her former partner had controlled. She had a reputation associated with a duo that no longer existed. She had bookings at small venues, bowling alleys, and holiday clubs that were humiliating for someone of her talent and her history. She showed up to every single one, not because the bowling alley was the goal, because showing up to the bowling alley was the cost of the goal, and she was willing to pay it. She took the small stage and gave it everything because she understood that the habit of showing up fully, regardless of the size of the stage, was the only thing that would eventually put her on a stage that matched what she was capable of. She did. Private Dancer, her comeback album, sold over 20 million copies. The subsequent tours broke records. She became, at an age when most performers have long since faded, one of the most electrifying live acts in the world. She showed up at the bowling alley so she could show up at Wembley. Every stage along the way was essential. Here is the truth those three lives speak in unison. Showing up does not always produce immediate results. It does not always feel heroic or meaningful or like the beginning of something. Sometimes it just feels like Tuesday, like the unremarkable, unwitnessed, quietly necessary act of keeping the chisel moving when everything in you wants to put it down. But the statue is in there. It has always been in there. And every time you show up, every time you keep the chisel moving when stopping was available, you are removing something that does not belong to the person you are becoming. Keep showing up, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard. That is exactly when the chiseling matters most. Share this with someone who is showing up to small stages and needs to be reminded that the small stages are building the big ones. Subscribe to Motivation Daily. We show up every day because you deserve someone who does. Drop a comment and tell me, what is the thing you are keeping showing up for, even when it is hard? Name it. Every time you name it and show up anyway, the chisel moves. Let's go.